Welcome everyone to today's deep dive. You probably remember the race for space, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That whole pandemic fever dream where it felt like literally everyone we knew was trading a shoebox in Zone 2 for, I don't know, a sprawling farmhouse in the Cotswolds.
Right, getting out of the city at all costs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, if you were planning on joining them, you might want to sit down. That trend hasn't just hit the brakes, it has slammed into a wall.
It's a complete U-turn. I mean, we've got fresh data from September 2025, and the headline is, it's pretty brutal. Londoners are now buying the lowest share of property outside the capital since 2013.
Wait, 2013.
Yeah.
That is a massive regression. I mean, I assumed things had cooled off a bit since those frenzied days of 2021, but a 12-year low, that suggests something much bigger is fundamentally broken.
The drop-off is staggering. Just in the first 7 months of 2025, we only saw about 31,620 transactions of Londoners buying outside the city.
Which sounds like a lot until you compare it to the peak.
Right. It's roughly half the volume we saw during the 2021 peak of over 63,000. So the Great Escape is officially over.
My first instinct here is to blame the return to office mandates. It's really hard to romanticize a shepherd's hut in Somerset when you have to be at a desk and bank 3 days a week. That commute it changes the calculus entirely.
It definitely plays a role.
Okay.
But if that were the only factor, we would still see people moving to the commuter belt, right?
Yeah.
The real blocker here isn't the commute, it's what the data calls the equity trap.
Ah, the equity trap. Because the property ladder only works if the rung you're currently standing on actually holds its value.
Exactly, and that just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So over the last 5 years, house prices outside London surged by 26%.
Wow.
But inside London, they only crept up by 8%. If you own in prime central London, places like Chelsea, values actually dropped by over 3%.
So the financial gap you need to bridge to move out has basically turned into a chasm. You're trying to sell a stagnant asset to buy a rapidly appreciating one.
And that creates a phenomenon the data is calling housing shrinkflation. This is the part that really hurts for anyone looking to move.
Shrinkflation, like with panty bars, but for houses.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because of that huge price divergence, a Londoner moving out today can afford a home that is 32% smaller than what they could have bought back in 2016.
32%. That isn't just getting a smaller garden, that is losing an entire wing of the house.
In hard numbers, it's a loss of about 553 square feet.
That's 2 double bedrooms, just vanished into thin air. See, for me, that kills the entire trade-off logic. The old deal was always, I suffer the commute, but I get the mansion.
Right.
Now you're telling me I suffer the commute and I lose 2 bedrooms. Who signs up for that?
Almost no one. Which is exactly why the destination map is being completely redrawn right now. 5 or 10 years ago, the dream was lifestyle. You moved to leafy, affluent spots like Sevenoaks or Broxbourne.
You paid for the vibe.
You paid for the vibe. But now, the data shows buyers are completely bypassing those leafy suburbs and targeting places like Dartford, Epping Forest, and Thurrock.
So it's just about survival at this point.
It's a purely pragmatic move driven by budget constraints. It's no longer a pursuit of the good life.
It sounds like the romance is totally dead. And actually, I noticed in the data that the coastal market is suffering too. Is that the exact same issue?
It's totally stalling out. It is taking 73 days on average to sell a coastal home right now. That is up from 52 days just after the pandemic.
Makes sense. If you can't afford the space and the commute is a total nightmare, the seaside loses its shine very quickly.
Exactly.
So if the math doesn't work for the country and the coast is too slow, does everyone just stay put?
That is what the Right Move data suggests. 58% of Londoners are now looking to stay within the capital rather than leave. The escape route has quite simply been priced out.
Which brings us to a really worrying conclusion for you, the listener, especially if you live in the city.
Yeah.
London has always functioned like a pressure cooker with a release valve. You get older, you get richer, you move out to make room for the new graduates coming in.
And we have effectively welded that valve completely shut.
Welded it shut. If millions of people are financially forced to stay in the city despite the insane cost of living, you have to wonder what that does to the social infrastructure over the next decade.
It is going to get very crowded and very, very expensive.
A pressure cooker without a release valve. That is definitely something to think about while you're squeezed onto the tube tomorrow morning. What happens when a city can no longer exhale? We'll leave you with that thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.